Good evening.
Currently, what stage of deliberation is the bill at?
Yes, because the draft usually come from the office of the council state and go to ministry. And in this case, this draft go to the Ministry of Public Health. Last year, when they put this draft, there is many opposition, and then the Ministry of Public Health lead by appoint a committee to working together for several months and come up with one draft. We can call it the draft Act of the Ministry of Public Health, which come from multiple stakeholders from the health profession.
Right.
And this draft, we expect that it should be the main draft that the Ministry of Public Health submit to the government cabinet, under this time. But we are disappointed that this draft is not the main draft, but the draft from the Office of the Council State is the main draft, and the draft of Ministry of Public Health is the attached draft.
Right. So it feels like an attachment to the draft that may not be included in the final bill. Is that correct?
Exactly. And under this time, because under the National Peace and Order Maintaining Council, this time for the government, they expect that the National Legislative Assembly have to work very fast. So we are worried that if this draft go to the National Legislative Assembly and they want to expedite the process to come up with the law, we worry that many aspects that we already put into the draft that we call the draft of Ministry of Public Health, which maybe not be covered into the draft when they come to in action.
Now, this attachment, a lot of stakeholders have contributed to this addendum.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
I would like to give information that we expect that because it's now close to 50 years after the 1967 the Drug Act that we use. We want something new, but under this Drug Act, that the Drug Act that come from the Office of Council State, we see that there is put more consumption, distribution, and let many stakeholders to distribute the medication with less monitoring and less control. And some good point that is in the Drug Act 1961 is disappear. So we worry about the safety, efficacy, and consumer protection aspect.
Right. So the main position that the council has taken is for more regulation, for more controls and quality assurances.
Not absolutely for more control. Actually, it is to balance the power of a stakeholder, and to balance is not to share the authority or to share the power, but we have to think about the main concept that drug is not a commodity, but is something like an ethical good that we should have some kind of a governing body to make it deliver to the patient with safety and efficacy.
Right. And do you believe that the bill's drafters will incorporate these controls, or rather these regulatory assurances?
This draft is maybe let more access to medication with not a restrict control. Like I will go into some point like for the advertisement. This draft neglect the process that we have before in the Drug Act that we use. For example, the other thing is like in Thailand they usually have many set of the drug put together that we call yachut, and people usually buy it because they are going to be easily to buy in the grocery and many places. And in this draft they submit to the government, there is nothing talking about this. I don't know why.
Right. So there's no there's no addressing the lack of regulation for this drug, or how easily accessible it is, even though maybe it should be controlled or prescribed.
Yes.
Right.
Can I continue for our point that we oppose at least 7 points?
Sure.
Yeah, our propose of the draft that we support, the draft of Ministry of Public Health, which we are working together. I can summarize into the two main categories, which go into the detail for the 7 points. Number one, for the first group, we are talking about the decentralization, the delivery of the medication to the patient. So in the category that we usually have for the classification of the drug, previously, in general, they should have like a prescription, the OTC or the household medication. And the other thing that right now we have in Thailand, we call dangerous drug, which is actually we want to make this as a pharmacist only. So we propose that under the law that we already talking together and come up with the draft, we should have a 3 classification. Number 1 is a prescription drug, which means that this drug has to be prescribed by the doctor, medical doctor, dentist, or veterinary doctor. And also for other kinds of these should be go to like for the people, we call it as a household remedy. And the other thing is under the well-trained pharmaceutical profession, which is we call the pharmacist only drug. So the other point that we are concerned about is the pharmacist should have very well trained for the production of the pharmaceutical. But in the draft that the state council proposed, it exempt, obtaining license of the production and selling of medication for some group of health profession. This is not good for the people. And the last point for the main group of the opposition category is the mixing, compounding, or combining of the drug together. The law allow the many health profession to do so. We are thinking that this is not good because we have factory, we have GMP, we have PICT which control. But why we allow the health profession to compound, to mix drug together? That is not for the case of the drug administration to a particular patient under care, but it's for, sometimes they have put it like in the box, in the tube, and in many cases they sell it, So if we allow by the law like this, it will be rampantly many medication go into the market.
Right, so it could have some unforeseen side effects if you combine.
This part is talking about the authority.
Right.
Yeah, there's a second part that I may already mention some, as I mentioned about advertisement, and also mention about the putting that together and sell it like a yachut. And the other thing that we are concerned is about the revision of the formula of the drug. You might know that in Thailand, when you register the drug, there is no like a period, for the revision of the medication. So you register it today, it may stay eventually, but in fact there may some like safety, maybe in United States, in Japan, in Korea, they already withdraw this drug from the market, But why don't we have the process of revision? And we propose that the renewal of the certificate of the formulary registration, it should be every 5 years, and this is not appear in the draft that we see, So there are many points that we mentioned, and the last one among the 7 points that we want to raise is the liability. There is no civil liability for the profession who are exempt from Section 159 because they want more authority. If anyone want more authority, want more responsibility, they have to have a liability, and the liability is come incongruent with punishment or administrative sanction, like pharmacists who are trained for producing the medication or for dispensing, they have some liability, and they have to register for selling medication, and they have to register for dispensing the medication or compounding. But other professions allowed by this law, but it's nothing for the liability. So this is one of the 7 points that we compare and we put it together for our proposal.
So do you think it's difficult to hold these producers responsible?
Drug because you do it, you have to be responsible by law.
So going back to the Pharmacy Council, what is the council's next step to make sure?
We are after receiving many recommendations, suggestion, and also some kind of live protest or demonstration of pharmacists around the country. We cannot stay, quiet. And actually, the Pharmacy Council, as I said, we already worked together with the Ministry of Public Health for the last year to have a draft. So we think that we should continue our position to support this draft as the main draft. And the president of the Pharmacy Council, Professor Dr. Sumon Sukonchai, already signed his name, for the letter that submit to the Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha and also the Ministry of Public Health, Professor Dr. Sakon Satyathon. So we think that the government should hear the voice of the pharmacy council and all pharmacy profession that are now working together.
Right. Well, I believe that we've run out of time. Thank you so much for being on the program. Is there anything else that you would like to add for our listeners?
Yes, I think that pharmacies right now in Thailand for more than 30,000 people, and this is very important for pharmacies because they are persons who are affected from this drug. So it should be this drug. It should be important to let the pharmacists voice with other profession to work together. And Ministry of Public Health draft is the main things that we consider to be submit to the National Legislative Assembly.
Right. Well, thank you so much for being on the program. Dr. Vithaya, I wish you the best of luck with the Pharmacy Council and getting your provisions through in the final draft of the bill.
Thank you, Benjamin, and audience.
Dr.